weather and other conditions, it is in fact May. And you wouldn't be able to tell by everyone wearing coats. I think the heat's sort of on in here, so last time we were here, refrigerated, quite freezing. Tonight, if you look down at your agenda, we will combine the discussions with the superintendent's report with our review of the budget hearing. We will conclude and move to number 5, the 15-minute community questions. We will have questions from the community on anything on the agenda. We would ask that you identify yourself and stand, particularly if you're sitting in the back. The acoustics are poor. If you have a question, please keep your comments to about 2 minutes. We would direct you to ask questions or comments, and we will not be having statements read or other items like that. So we're going to move directly into our budget hearing.
Good evening, everybody. I just feel like I'm back teaching again when all the kids sit in the back of the room and no one sits up here. That's my issue. Tonight, we have the budget hearing, and I'm going to go back to where we started in December when we first announced what you're going to hear about in January, February, March, and April. That was all the way back in December. Some of you were here at that time. Then the workshops started in January, and the workshops we told you would be estimates, guesstimates, and Linda historically has been just about right on the mark. And we waited for April, which is when we find out what our state aid is. We found out the retirement incentives, who accepted, who's leaving, who's not. Those became very firm last night. And the board voted in April to accept the budget, the total budget amount last month, April 14th, I believe it was. Now, did that mean everything was done on the budget? No. Some of the work fell over, rolled into May. Okay? But whatever work we did had to fit within that budget figure that we presented in April that the board voted on. Okay? As I talk to you tonight, things are firmed up, things are in place, and we'll be presenting that in my part of the presentation, and Bob Sweeney will also be presenting on what the budget's proposing. Okay? But the history, you need to remember. Now, if you've been with us the last few years, and tonight you'll see it again, you saw last month, Linda has always, since I started here 5 years ago and years before that, presented a 5-year strategic plan. So we can see 5 years out where we're going. If you remember from April, and that plan's going to appear again. But when you look through the first 3 years, those are definite numbers. Those are definite numbers. And I also presented, you're going to see again tonight, that this is the lowest hike in the budget in 3 years. In 3 years, at 1.34 hike in the budget. Now, when we get to the 3 years, 1920, now going forward, in the next 3, we're guessing again. So can you understand that? Estimates for the last few months, estimates going out on a 5-year plan. Now, this is something behind the scenes that we didn't share with you that we've been doing since last year that you should really know about. So I think it's good work. Linda presents a 5-year plan. Last July, 2018, the board and I decided to do a strategic district plan. And that strategic plan is 5 years out. So that plan is actually made of smaller pieces. One, a 5-year technology plan, right, Ken?
That's correct.
5 years going out. So we're not reactionary. Everything is planned in technology in the district for 5 years. It's not Ken coming to me one day and going, Gordon, I need like 100 more laptops right now. Everything for 5 years is laid out. One of the biggest challenges in this district, and you've been hearing about it, was buildings and grounds, facilities, the repairs that are needed. Now we have a 5-year plan. Scott Ray, who's involved with the supervision buildings and grounds, has been, worked with a gentleman who's our chief of maintenance in the district, went to every building, assessed the problems, what was wrong with the buildings, and now we have a 5-year plan for what has to be repaired. What has to be repaired over the summer, what has to be repaired next year, the following year, all the way to 5 years. So we're not reaction. Oh man, we need a water heater in the elementary school now. All of that is in a 5-year plan, like Ken's technology plan. Linda has her business 5-year plan. The principals were called in, like all the directors, last July, and I said, I want a 5-year academic plan from the 3 of you. But I don't want an elementary 5-year plan. I don't want a middle school 5-year plan. I don't want a high school 5-year plan. I want a K through 12 academic plan. The directors were all involved and the principals. What was great about it was the principals met on their own. They felt empowered. They worked together. They met, they traded buildings where they met throughout the fall. And in December, they presented me with their 5-year academic plan. What we did again, we met during the spring, and I met with them again yesterday. And I said, gentlemen, here we are, the budget's in place. The vote is a week away. Have your plans changed? Based on what you've seen and what's in the budget, academically in the elementary school, middle school, high school, are things changing? Now, what they have in that plan is programs they'd like to see take place, courses they'd like to see happen, what they'd like to see with STEM, STEAM, robotics is in that plan, when it happens, when the curriculum's done. So again, nothing in our schools, they're not going to say, hey, I want to start an elective this year in this. 5 years academic, 5 years business, 5 years facilities, and 5 years technology are complete. They will all be put together and put on the website at the end of June, and you can see it. To print it for you would be that size at least. So we're going to put them in individual parts. You can check it out anytime you want, 5 years going out. The best thing is the principals now work in harmony. Each has a global perspective on what's going on in their building. And after that, they see K through 12. Ken in technology always plans K through 12, but now he's laid out what's his priorities. What are our kids going to be doing? When are our kids going to go one-on-one on laptops? It's in his plan. Okay? When are we going to get these repairs done finally? Is it in year 2, year 3, year 5? And facilities, we need that. This building needs this. What's in the plan? When do we have it? When is it scheduled to be done? It's all set up. Now, all these plans, even the principals in the academic K through 12 plan, have to look at the budget plan. It has to work in harmony with the budget. The facilities plan, Ken's technology plan, have to work within the 5-year budget. Do you understand that? So all these pieces of the strategic district plan have to fit together and work in harmony. We may love to do a lot of things, but it takes money. Do we have the money to do it? And Linda, right away at the end of the school year, will be working on next year's budget. What the principals are doing, they'll have what they'd like to do next year, so Linda's going to know that ahead of time. What do you want to do in your buildings? What do you think we need? What can happen? She'll check out what was spent this year, what wasn't spent. Where does our fund balance start going? Where are we at the end of the year? So this was overdue, but it's healthy. The principals are empowered. They're doing it. Ken's helping me out. He's one of the busiest, hardworking men in this district, but he's putting up with me, and that 5-year plan will be done for your viewing pleasure and mine and for the board. The board, by the way, got the progress on all these reports in January, at the end of January. They got the academic, they got the technology, partial, 3 out of 5. They got built facilities report, and of course they have Linda's. Now they'll get the complete and revised reports. Now these are living documents, obviously. Every year when you're all here, we do the budget. How do they affect all of these strategic plans? So what is the strategic plan? It's a tool, a guide to help us get to the district goals for the community and our students. It's our guide that we can live by for 5 years. And I'm feeling darn good about it. The board is feeling good about it. It was necessary. No more guesswork. No more reacting to things. Things are planned. And I think you'll see the work if you want to take the time. Look at them on the website when they're posted. The end of June, they will be there. Okay? So that was behind the scenes of what we're presenting tonight and Linda's 5-year plan going forward. All of this stuff we're doing in that strategic plan has to work within the budget for the next 5 years. Okay? So that was behind the scenes in addition to this, what's been going on. Bob, you want to come up? Now, this is the opening of the strategic plan up here. This is just a piece. You'll see what adults have to do in the district, what's expected of them, what they must do. And again, this will be on the website. I won't spend a lot of time on it. And then you have, besides what the adults, the staff will do, administrators and teachers, what are the expectations of our students as we move forward? I'll just point out an example where I'd like to see a little more emphasis is on the last one. To have kids set and monitor personal learning goals in order to achieve academic mastery and personal growth. If you're a student, I should be able to say in the high school, I wonder what your goals are. What would you like to achieve when you get out of it? What's your focus? So yeah, we hold our teachers accountable to do these things, but what accountability, what high expectations do we have for our kids? So this is just part of what the strategic plan looks like, and this will all be on the website for you. But it's in existence, forming up, and I will be revisiting this every year. Bob?
So this has been a real sea change for a school district and this district. We have had planning in different areas, but we have never had the planning get driven down to the principals who are acting as a total enterprise from K through 12. What we are achieving is a financial process from the board's perspective that we can do more, and what you'll see in this budget is even with increases in health insurance of over 7%, increases in salary, we have been able to do all of the different things that were necessary to meet the various needs from K through 12. What's different this year than years before is that once the budget numbers are set, those come from general understanding of what was for the first time a strategic plan. Then that went back out in April to Gordon and the principals, and frankly to the principals and directors who worked according, Gordon has advised us, who now saw what their parameters were, and they need to make those decisions. They need to know who their staff is. They need to know what their depth is, we learned a lot of different things in the past month. We learned about teachers who are also meteorologists on the side, adjunct professors who are teaching college-level cooking in Suffolk Community College. We learned a lot about their flexibility, which makes our district even stronger. We're a small district, K through 12, in a small amount of students. You have to have that flexibility to be able to address long-term goals in the academics, in the facilities, and in the overall operations of the district. In a small district, you can't suddenly just, oh, let's go do this, or this we didn't do, so now let's pay attention to this. It has to be something that we know about. K through 12 is how we should approach everything. When we're buying textbooks, and the board is asked to authorize textbook purchases, well, the principals should be working together to say, well, the textbooks we're buying for grades 3, for example, will not conflict with the textbooks that are at the 6th grade. Let me give you a hint. That actually occurs. The classroom material is not the same, and you're teaching. I'm not a teacher, but even I can figure that out. When you look at it and you're trying to line up, particularly under the current curriculum, how it works. Now, the principals meet and they deal with it. So we, as a board, have the ability to get much more information so that we can make good financial decisions, good academic decisions that meet the community's needs. Also, to meet the community's needs with regards to tax increases. This is the lowest in 3 years with a 1.34 increase in our budget. It is not smoke and mirrors. When you plan, like in any business, when you plan it out properly over time, you are able to meet all of your expenses, all of your salaries, all of your compensation, and still do things. I find that a lot of these processes, people are making excuses. What didn't we get? What state aid didn't come in? I work in one way. I take the cards I was given, and I do the best I can with those cards, period. I don't look to what's going to happen, what could have happened. I don't live that way. I'm a trial attorney. I take what I'm given as my evidence, and I still have to be successful in that courtroom. That's what we have to apply here. We have to be successful. Our students have to be successful. So we've looked at buttons that I don't really know. Our strategic planning this year as a board came from our administrators. They're the experts. Educational foundations, development in K through 6, 7 and 8, and 9 through 12. Somewhat different in each building and each grouping, but they're also working as all one. Some of the fundamentals. I go back in time. Remember the commercial when, at least when I was a kid, reading is fundamental? Well, reading is a huge issue. Reading is now how students learn. If you look at their homework, their math, it's not all numbers, it's a paragraph of writing. If they don't comprehend well, they're not going to do well on the written portions of mathematic problems. It's not just adding up numbers. You have to be able to comprehend and read well all the way along. We have had long discussions in the committees that the board holds, ELA and STEM committee, STEAM committee, about critical thinking and how we introduce STEM and STEAM into the curriculum, into the clubs, and how we can push that out through the different staff that we're hiring, the talents that they have, and their interests in how we can do this. STEAM has to be part of what all the different classes do. We have had a STEAM series of lessons based on physics and based on music taught in the music classes. We have had an entire session involving the arts and science, where our two directors have gotten together and created a program where the students are doing what, if you pull it all apart, is a STEAM lesson in art. And they're seeing these pieces in their day-to-day things. We have to, as a small district, continue to provide staff development. If you don't continuously educate your staff, give them the tools to learn, they become stagnant, they can't teach as well, period. It doesn't matter if you take that into a law firm. We need to be able to provide strong development so that they can meet the needs of the future. If they're taught, they learn, they teach our students better. Provide further recruitment and flexibility of skills. This has been an ongoing process. When we are presented with applicants who are interested in joining Mount Sinai, there are a lot who would like to come here. This is a desirable district to work in and teach. We look at what's their flexibility? What different certifications do they have? How can they teach in different areas? What do they bring to the table across the board? We have been very successful in doing this. The administrators have to put in a great deal of time. We have recently had 2 science positions that we were interviewing for. Just in the cut for interviews were 40 different people. It was difficult. It's a very significant process that is expecting high excellence of these recruits that are coming to us, because now they can teach multiple classes. We look at and have asked in the strategic planning our existing staff, our retiring staff, how they teach our new staff, because many of our retirees built this building, built this operation. They have really put the foundation in and how they have allowed our students to excel. What are some of the things that the board has seen and continue to support and will support in this budget? Level literacy instruction supported in the elementary school and middle school. This has been an excellent addition to our current system. This is supported by our principals, our teachers, and our librarians. If you go into the libraries for a quick tour, you can see a level reading type setup now where our students know what books they can go to, and this encourages their enjoyment reading, not just textual reading or classroom reading. We are continuing to support our STEM and robotics in both the elementary school and middle school. Our technology teacher in the high school is also working in that direction. He was hired specifically with that in mind. He's a new teacher. He's developing curriculum along with the principal and assistant principal. He's working on writing a robotics course in the high school that will be part of the electives offered. I don't want to speak ill of what I used to call shop. Technology is now the direction we're going. In our strategic plan, as you were to look through it, you might not see a bandsaw. What you might see is a 3D printer. You may see whole different things going on. If you were to walk into one of these classrooms, they may look more like a science room that I grew up with than what we think of as a shop or technology class. That has to be what we do for the future, because our students are coming out and they have to compete. They have to compete in the college, they have to compete in careers, and in the workplace. We continue as a board to support our special education students, and we will be adding 2 teachers, consultant teacher directs. Previously, we were using a shared system. We are not. Grades 1 through 4 will be CTD teachers, and this will change how we approach this. This is something that we work very closely with our special education teachers, our special education director, and also our families in some of their commentary. We will continue to support Columbia reading and writing in the elementary school and middle school. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we adopted the writing side. Last year, we adopted the reading side. This is new to some of us. It may not be new to you guys who are teaching in other districts, but it's new to us, and we are just getting the benefits of this, and we have to continue to support this. This is not something that just happens for a little while, and then you move on to the next thing. This is a culture. This is a process. We are embedding STEM in the curriculum throughout all 3 buildings. Again, part of the strategic planning. How do we support the students in all of the curriculum? Strategic academic planning with an understanding of where STEM fits in, regardless of the type of course. STEM is part of Project Adventure. Before they're ever climbing out on the equipment out behind the high school, they're talking about pulleys and levers and balance. What's that all about? It's about STEM. We also are looking at additional electives that will be in the high school course offering book this year. That's come directly from talent and skills that our staff has. And we are also looking at the safety and security and supporting that as a #1 priority at our property. One of the things that we committed to last year, we are continuing that commitment, is not just security as a stopgap, but as security stemming from prevention. We hired a social worker who works between all 3 buildings and works with our students. Her focus is not the principals, it's not the classroom, it's the students. Mental health is about as high a priority as we should have, and that is something that she is charged with in dealing with all of our students in the buildings. We have achieved a great deal for this little district, and we continue to achieve. We have had the most athletic success in history this last year. We're a top achieving Suffolk County school district compared to every one of our neighbors. I would dare say, you stack us up against every school district, we're equal to or better. Oops. Student interest in fine arts and digital arts is at a record high. We have seen a huge increase in the students' interest in digital arts. We have made a big commitment to the digital art side and expanded the offerings in that area because the students want to do that. That's the way they want to work in the computer. They want to do graphic arts, they want to do digital arts. There's coding that goes on with the graphic and digital arts. We've had a record number of NISMA Gold and NISMA Gold with distinction participants and our bands and orchestra. I say that all with what our budget is. That's our budget, that's what we voted on last month. A quick primer on the budget. In December, Gordon and I both said we will be sitting and listening to presentations over the next 3 months of what opportunities there are. And I made it very clear in December, there are no decisions yet. We made a decision with regards to an expenditure budget in April, and that now gave the principals the opportunity to see what were the rails that they could work with what they have in their buildings and together. And that's what has gone on since April 14th. Frankly, yesterday evening, but certainly the last Friday, when we started to see the results of their recommendations and what we would be doing for next year. That's this year's budget. This is the total increase, 1.34. We also have another obligation to all of our community about taxes. And taxes are a real issue. We chose a path in Mount Sinai many, many years ago, maybe before many of you ever lived here, that there wouldn't be significant commercial development. There was supposed to be a Home Depot where Heritage Park was. Before that, that was also going to be the new elementary school. The elementary school, there's two pieces of property. There used to be a Texaco gas station, and then there was empty property. That was potentially going to be a new elementary school. We made decisions, and I say we because every board should recognize that they are a continuation of the board before them. We're not in a place to point back. I wasn't here 20 years ago when they made those decisions. Those decisions that were made then, we live with now, but they may have been the smart decisions then. I hope that our decisions presently are the smart decisions 20 years from now. We remain within the tax cap, and that has been the watchword of our budget process for the past 8 years. What are our opportunities? Second grade, remember K through 12. There were multiple sections of our school from second grade on up that presented some challenges to our administrators, to our superintendent and our assistant superintendent. The recommendations are that we had committed to a priority of reading, writing, and this is really where the road meets the tire, and this is where it really comes to terms. We looked at not just class count, we looked at the curriculum, we looked at what's being taught, and what our priorities are. I'm a reader. Everything I do has to do with reading and writing. I am very worried about our students. I'm very worried about our society. In everything has to be 140 characters. Do we write? And when you write, do you write as a critical thinker? Do you write as an advocate? Do you know how to write as an advocate? How many of us proofread after we write down and get all our thoughts down and then go back to it and say, what was I thinking? And clean that up. I read various periodicals and newspapers. Maybe sometimes I don't really agree what they say, but I read it because they write very beautifully. And I learn to this day about how to write. It's so important, reading and writing, that second grade became a high priority from the principals to, now when we say principals, this isn't anymore the elementary school principal said this is a high priority. We speak in terms of the principals and directors offering a voice as one, what their opinions are, that are presented then to the superintendent, that then come to the board. And frankly, over the last month, that's been a great deal of information for us that we could make collaborative and deliberative decisions on these issues. We've added a section to second grade. We have continued to commit to the K through 5 reading initiative and Columbia Reading, the professional development that comes with that, the methods that come to that in the curriculum, and how that is done. We have added special education teachers. We talked about that in terms of the CTDs. We have added a section in 5th grade. Why? There's a number of reasons. Once again, you're back to the basics of fundamental reading, writing, and the change that our students have to go through. There is more than just class count. 4th graders, if you simply took their section and moved them to 5th grade, that's how we've always done it in the past. Their section, their number of classes just moves. Here's the problem. They're moving to a different building with different stresses, with what was the issue we said earlier? Well-being. I've been on record last year. I don't like that they moved to the 5th grade. I will remain a loud voice, I do have one, with regards to how do we get them back to the elementary school. They are elementary school kids. How do we, this year is the first year we've offered Columbia Reading at this level. And now we're going to turn around and not give them that opportunity. By adding a section, we address what are some of the issues. When you're a fifth grader, you're now being asked to switch classes. By the time you get to your next subject, how long do you think it takes to get them refocused? We're probably losing an hour in the day. As the time ticks away, we work in time frames, and the reading, math, all the subjects, there's only so much time in the day. This is what drives the decision to add a section, the decision to look at the student's well-being. That has to be a very important part of how we look at kids. They have a lot of stresses. I think, personally, we're making our kids grow up too fast. We're putting them in places, if you go back in time to what you learned in second grade, well, they're learning it in kindergarten. What we learned in fourth grade, what's the rush? What's the rush? What's wrong with just being a kid? What's wrong with some play? They'll learn. We all did. Let's keep that in mind as we go forward. We have some new faces. Come with me next year about this too, when we start talking about where the students are and their well-being and how we teach and how we read and how we write. It is kind of fundamental. Electives, AP and technology curriculum. I touched on a little bit of the technology and the AP side. We're looking at the different programs. Quietly, we're looking at also, we're a very big AP operation. How do we export our AP skills out digitally and through distant learning to other schools to help us continue to offer some of these classes that are not as large enrollment, and also to remember that we offer AP differently than other school districts. We offer AP not for the elite, not for the best, but for any student who's willing to put in the work. A number of years ago, we pressed that and opened that up, and some people said, oh, well, we're going to see test scores go down. We're not going to see the same thing. We saw the exact opposite. Because what is it that AP teaches? AP teaches not only the subject matter, but what it teaches is study skills. And I really think that's what our students come away with as a huge benefit as they move on to college. The ability for them to work independently, to have to assimilate lots and lots of information, not just what to memorize from the teacher, what's in the text, what's from other sources. They are so much better prepared for the rigors of college that whether they got a 1 or a 5, in my opinion, doesn't matter. The fact that we have prepared our students for the rigors of higher education is huge. And we welcome all students who want to do it. Music instruction K through 12, we have examined that from beginning to end. There were some concerns. We have examined that overall. The current process, the current classes, the current lessons, the offerings, orchestra, band, remain the same. You will see later on in the agenda, we will be accepting a resignation of a teacher. That will not affect our offerings in any way, including the number of students to any real degree in the lessons as we currently have. You may not know this, but during this year, we actually have been operating under rate with a teacher who is operating at 0.6 instead of full time. So we've already been accommodating it, and we will continue to accommodate and make the offerings, including fourth grade orchestra. One of the most important things that we did as a board, and the board empowered me to negotiate, was to create a retirement plan. We have a retirement plan that our longtime teachers who developed our curriculum, who have been with us from the beginning, now have the opportunity to retire, and we know what our retirements will be 3 years out already. We know by person, by subject, by what they teach, and we know where we're going to be. That is a huge component to our strategic planning, because that allows us to recruit properly, to train properly, and also to manage the size of our staff. 80% of our expenses is based on staff, to manage our staff so we don't run into what other districts have in terms of 7-year plan of accessing. We have a controlled process where we know where we're going to be, and we can right-size through this process of attrition that is respectful to the teachers who helped build us. This was done in a cooperative method between 2 of the bargaining units. We've had this plan in place with the teachers union, and it was a very, very cooperative method to how do we address an issue, the decrease in population, and how do we do it right. We also have the same type of plan with the administrators going forward. It's a smaller group, but it works with our school district, and it works within the K-12 plan. It saves us also a great deal of money. Upwards of, over the period of time of 3 to 5 years, $600,000 to $800,000. Not to remind you, but that's the budget increase. That's what you have to get out there, if you would. What's the truth? What is not the false narrative on Facebook? What isn't correct in Facebook or your neighbors? What's the real thing? We're doing a lot. We're adding a lot. We're keeping a lot without a huge increase. Is it increasing? Yes. But if I were to run a business and you say to me that with 7 to 8% increase in insurance, that's part of compensation. If you were to say to me that with increase in staff cost, that's part of our expenses. If you were to say to me that we're putting aside, and I'm taking a little bit of your thunder later, $1.5 million into the capital reserve to do things in a planned method without taxing you for it, and yet with those numbers, we're under the cap, and it's 1.34. That's extraordinary. I believe that that's from strategic planning, not reactive planning. Thinking 2 and 3 and 4 years ahead. This is the review of the overall budget. I won't bore you with all the pieces, but the $806,000 is the 1.34. If you look at the contractual increase overall, 3.26. That's not what everyone gets in raises, but that's the overall, all of our contracts, everything. That's the increase across the board, all the different contracts. Employee benefits, CPI for busing, all of these things add up, but when you come down to the 1.34, that makes sense. That's what we have to do as a board, make financially prudent decisions while maintaining what's necessary and excellent for the students. This reflects then, based on all the calculations, what you would actually see overall for the average assessment. It's $17. Some people, the average being, Mr. Kulik, you'll bear with me, that's the middle. Some people have higher assessments, some people have lower. Our tax rate and our tax levy within the cap, based on the state's calculations of what we submitted, allows us to have 2.168. That's a 1.34 increase in the budget. You've seen this, particularly for those who come every year. This is the foundation on which our strategic plan is built. We are able to look at all the way through 1920, 2021. If you notice here, for example, we're putting in 1.5, those are placekeepers. If you look down here, capital reserve, this is what we're pulling out to do work that's necessary. This is our estimated fund balance. My little red light doesn't really work, you can see it at the bottom. Where we will close at 4.7%. This reflects where we need to be. This reflects a sound financial status for the district. Separately, apart from this, we have gotten less aid. Don't believe what you read in Newsday. We actually have less aid than we did last year. This reflects good financial planning that is connected to the necessary academic, operational, and staffing needs of the district. Gordon, you're up.
Thanks, Bob. By the way, we're talking a lot about Columbia reading and writing. I do want to give necessary kudos. We have some folks through the working poor chap or related to people working poor chap. We have people from Strong Wading River. Without those districts, when we visited, without them inspiring our teachers, it wouldn't be as successful as today. So I thank those people for helping us out. And according to our elementary principal and those who went over there, they saw some damn fine teaching. So thank you. I'm back again with this, but I'm doing it now, not at the beginning. It's extremely important to remember the capital projects do not cost you any additional money. They're coming out of fund balance. And Bob just showed you, if you saw what I was talking about earlier, the 3 years going out and guessing, that was at the 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. Wouldn't it be great if we could maintain programs next year and come in with an even lower hike in the budget than 1.34? That's our goal. But this money has already been set aside, and you've heard it before, but it's support to say it. How did we come up with all this? How did we reduce our fund balance? And what Bob didn't mention, what is, I have said before is, now that we're going to be down in our fund balance to 4.7, we are going to get a letter from New York State saying we're under financial stress, right, Linda? They say, you got to be down to 4%. Well, we're going to go there, and I'm going to get a letter that says, what are you doing? You're going down too low, but that's where you want us to be. That's not a real good area to be, 4% or lower. And so we have to watch that carefully. In 2017-18, as a review, the board decided to take out of your bank account the fund balance $5 million. What did we do with it? It's up there. And we consider some of that, you might think it's elaborate, you might think it's a luxury and not necessary, but you ask anybody in the school district, the superintendent, athletic director, hey, what do you think of our 15-year-old turf field that could be condemned any year when we have no home games? That had to be done. Kids were getting injured out there. That was a risk. Bleachers that were never ADA compliant, that were put up in 1992. You don't want strong winds blowing, especially if you're sitting in the press box, which shakes a bit. Then the field events were taken out of the field and put in a separate area out of respect for track as well as convenience for the field. And the main thing, as I told you last time, in safety is fencing. 2 security assessments before the guards and anything. FBI expert who goes into buildings with bombs to see if he can get in and violate security said, Gordon, before you do anything, you've got to tighten the perimeter around and get the fence up. Those of you remember by the post office, the fence was trampled. It didn't exist. And then we had to deal with a homeless person deciding to build a little cardboard mansion over there between the school district and the post office. Where actually, I didn't know the law couldn't make them move. So the custodians, we had to conduct a midnight raid and remove the cardboard and dispose of it to make, they're right next to, he was right next to our elementary kids at recess. And that's what we had to do. Now we have a hell of a fence over there. Much safer, and now we also have, by the way, one of our security guards supervise recess outside as well. So we did that, we secured the perimeter, and I had a gentleman who's running for the board in Shoreham River visit me yesterday. He wanted to see what armed guards look like. Because a lot of them think they have horns, they scare the hell out of kids. People, women, everybody screaming in the hallways, and they're bad vision. And he wanted to see a secure campus, because he tells me that there are paths leading from the stores up through behind the elementary school where anyone could walk. I guided him around. He was very pleasantly surprised by our gate guy. He liked our guard booth. He liked meeting the security guard to see how professional they are. And he liked our district. And he's running for their board. And he is very concerned with security. I'm glad he liked what he saw. I knew he would. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't invite him. Okay? Now, we took that $5 million. We came in on the budget a bit below. Well, that money is spent. So what did we do also in 17-18? We took $750 in capital reserves and put that aside. Now what we just moved on is to take $850 more out of the fund balance, again, not against you, not on your taxes, and combine that with the $750 to come up with $1.6 million. And as I've told you, what are we doing with that 1.5? Man, if I had 1.5 million around my house, I could turn it into Disneyland. But 1.5 with the repairs we need doesn't go very far. It does two things. The HVAC system right here, above here, if this were a normal May and not 45 degrees, we might not have had our meeting here tonight. Remember last year, we moved to the high school because of the heat. I'm hoping because we don't have that HVAC system that it remains cool for our kids. Because that HVAC system, not just the auditorium, all the classrooms around and the music classrooms are affected by that HVAC system. Last year, some of you might have had kids knowing we're dragging large fans into the school to help out. So that has to be replaced. And remember the high school roof. Under the $5 million, only 1/3 was fixed. This is only for the second third. The third one's still out there, not being repaired. So 1.5 million pays for two things. The board has the power to set the money in the reserve. You folks, next Tuesday, not just voting on the budget, but you have to vote on how we want to spend that money. You need to vote on whether we're going to have the second third of the roof fixed at the high school, and we're going to fix the system up here that's 30-something years old, almost 40.
Just to point out, the high school roof, this is the largest portion.
Mm-hmm.
It also includes the auditorium, which is a huge roof at Endeavor. We previously did the A-wing. Each building is functionally a separate building for roof purposes. We did the library. We replaced and changed what was the old greenhouse into a closed-in facility, and the A-wing. This is now the middle, including the auditorium. That's why it's so much more.
I showed this demographic last week, and I thank some of you for reacting to this and taking it to heart. But this is really, as I mentioned last time, I'm not going to dwell on it, but when you look to the far right, and the gentleman said to me in my office the other day, when we have less than 10% of this district voting, it's pretty bad. Why is the board, and why am I concerned? Because if you look at the 40 through 60 plus, where the numbers show up on a consistent basis, do the math, look at the 962, and look at if that group decides to go negative on everything. We don't pass this. It's that clear. I don't know why, because every year I beg, holler, and scream, even 14, 15, and look at how it's gone down. So are we going to be less than 960 this year? We're going to drop at that rate? God, that'd be frightening to get to 700, wouldn't it? Out of 10,000?
Yeah, because we always have about how many people's voting no?
Yeah, we have a consistent block that votes no.
Used to be 500, it's more than that now.
Yeah, that's what you have to be aware of. Please, that night there'll be a number of things going on in the district. I beg you to help get people out to vote, vote, vote. I will cite my former district that had 10,000 voters, too, is much bigger. And even in that district, where we work very hard, 2,000 people voted. 962, you can't explain it to me in what I think is definitely one of the finest districts on Long Island, one of the best in Suffolk County. Okay, here's the nasty stuff. What happens basically in a contingent budget? Say that negative block shows, as I always do, and there's a negative vote. What happens if it doesn't pass? Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of that stuff Bob presented is not going to happen. Because what are we going to have? We're going to have a shortage of $870,000. You go back to last year's tax levy. Basically what it is, you go back in time to last year's budget. There's not 1.34 increase. That money has to be made up in cuts. It's that simple. Now, we had a great discussion about contractual limits, things of that nature, and maintaining respectable class sizes. When you have to make up $900,000, unfortunately, contractual limits looks like one of the answers. Here are some of the things we would have to do as a board. And again, I haunted you and told you when I had to cut $4.5 million to William Floyd. 20 teachers, and that was the start. You have to review all level classes. Bob's talking about the global look. We're not looking at one school, it's K-12. You have to consider contractual limits in all grades. You even have to do this. Hey, you know what? We don't need consumer science in high school. We don't need those electives. It's only middle school. We can cut that. Many districts, as you probably know, cut all of their business classes because they're not mandated in high school by the state. We could do that if we had to do that. Think about $900,000 to come up with that. Now the other stuff is lesser, okay? All equipment, now it's pretty heavy. That's about 300 grand. But we need to cut 600 more than that. Classroom supplies for 900 grand, no, you're not gonna get near it. Elimination of some extracurricular activities, it doesn't even touch it. And reduce supplies for that, no. You're looking at the top stuff, which is something we don't want to think about, okay? Not when we work this hard, not when we know our community's this vested. This board has been this reflective. A lot of thinking going on in the last 4 weeks. We've come up with great answers. I would love to see all of that stuff Bob showed us happen. Not to be sacrificed due to a budget going down. Now what is the voting? Again, you're voting on this budget, the lowest hike in 3 years. The library people were here. I don't know how many people paid attention to them, but they were here. So they create their budget, not us, but the library. This is the one I just showed you. No additional taxes. The money already came out of the bank account. It's there to spend on those things I told you. So this is what is a week away.
Excuse me, will this be on the web?
Yes, we always post these. Okay, so that's my presentation, and Bobby, we're going to wrap it up, but you really need to hear it. You need to help us, please. We've got to make the vote better than it's been, and we need your help.
What we've done in the past, we have had the benefit of science fairs. We have the benefit of book fair that the PTO runs that brings out a lot of the kids. Because buy one, get one free. It You'll get lots of families to come and their shoot along right to the back gym in the evening. What's helpful to us is your voice. If you could pick up the phone, I'm not here to tell you how to vote. That's a personal choice. I'd like you to vote. If you could talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, the kids, parents in your play groups, clubs, things like that, and ask them, one, are they aware of the budget? You'll be surprised how many say, no. They've got mailings, this is out there, there's discussions of it. We need your help to put that out there. Why is the number going down? Frankly, I think it's complacency. I also think it is a symptom of very busy lives, and we're all stressed and pulled from pillar to post. Probably plenty of you in the room will leave well before dawn to get to work and come home quite late. There are those of you who, by the time you get home, may be sitting down just to pull together homework, get everyone squared away, baths, the whole bit. It takes a lot of time. We need to encourage people to support their community. Mount Sinai, why I moved here, why many of you are here, is this is our community. There may not be every piece of this budget you agree with every single thing, but I think in total, we have put together a plan this year as a budget, but a plan going forward that makes a great deal of sense and is a great support to our future and a prudent use. Take that to your neighbors. Ask them to come out to vote. The more people that come out, the more people that take a few minutes maybe to look at tonight's presentation, go back over time to the different presentations, look at the facts, not the spin, not the alternative facts that are out there. These are straightforward facts. These are what they are. These make sense. These are what we should do as a community to support our schools. And I can only ask, can you be an agent for us to get out there and get the vote out? It's not that hard. 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There is time. The back gym will be secured during school. You won't be able to get in but for the back door. There will be an armed security guard there. Access is limited in the sense that he sits right outside the entry and you come and go to vote. After school, we open up all the doors and people can come. If someone is handicapped, they can park in the district parking. We'll have a special parking lot for them. We try to make it as easy as possible. I don't know if we should send buses to various neighborhoods and just have them sit outside with music, you know, come on, get on the bus. Can you get out the vote? That's the most important thing. If you could, how you vote is your personal choice. What your view of the budget is your personal choice based on your finances and how it affects you and your family. I respect that. I don't respect apathy. We need your help.
I'll make my usual phone call, but unless I'm canceling school, not many people pay attention to me, so I'll do my best.
Before we move into the rest of the meeting, let's take 15 minutes or so. Any particular questions on this material that you'd like to ask? Yes, ma'am.
Is it fact or fiction, Facebook fiction? Are you cutting kindergarten aides next year?
Aides are being, because of the number of kids in the classes, they're no longer required.
So how low are the classes?
Oh,
20.
20?
And what happens if we continue to see a growth in the population over the summer?
Then that would drive how we would address aides in the classroom. So you have to have, is it 23?
Can you say it's based on need? And what's his average size?
Yeah.
20 now.
Yeah.
Yes, at 20 and 9%.
We have
They're based on need.
Good. Anything else? let me just go to Lisa.
Oh, I just wanted to know, I have a lot of friends who don't have children in the district anymore, and a lot of them have been asking if there are going to be mailers reminding them of the vote.
Yes. They do a full district by all the addresses to everyone. That goes out with some of the highlights from tonight. And I don't know if it references the website production, but it will be on the website as well.
It's probably on our Facebook page.
Yes, sir.
Gordon, you said you had a strategic plan, 5 years. Is this the first time that you guys are implementing this as opposed to a reactional plan?
We've always had a 5-year financial plan, and my opinion is that that's one dimension, and this year, the board asked Gordon, and Gordon brought to the administrators a comprehensive 5-year plan that covers everything from maintenance to academics and everything in between.
So in order for that 5-year plan to work, each year feeds off the last year. So next year...
Pretty much, yes.
Right. So what happens if, in a perfect world, that would be great. But what happens if something happens and that plan doesn't go as well as you guys thought? Do you have a plan B to fall back
Every
on?
plan, in my business, I'd like to say I can predict everything, and that never happens.
Correct.
These are broad enough brush plans that there is flexibility within them to address how things change. We don't know, next December, the state comes down with a new mandate, we're now going to be doing something different. We experienced that a number of years ago where we now had Common Core, and the textbooks in New York did not accommodate Common Core in each grade in sequence. And we had to address that with a training process, and we could. The budget that we have allows for evolution, and it's a living document. It is not if this was a manual where on page 17 you will do the following, that's not really a strategic plan. That's just a manual to do things.
But if something like that, Bob, happened, would it throw this plan off?
No,
No? Okay.
You
no.
always have to be ready for emergency.
Okay. And one other question, the $5 million that we took out, you guys, however it got allocated, there's
1.5 million?
left. And you said you
No,
only did
the
1/3.
$5 million was voted on by the community last May
Yeah.
to use as a capital project. The
Correct.
community voted on that. This year, there is
1.5.
some money left in the capital reserve. As we have learned, I do it in my own business, we prepare for eventualities going forward. We put money aside. This year, we're going to be looking for the community to pull out $1.5 million to address 2 large projects. And we will still have some money left, and then we will look in the future to put additional money into the capital
And one of those
reserve.
projects is the roof in the high school. and
Roof in the high
HVAC.
school and the HVAC system here.
So Gordon, last year, when that was taking place, was the roof bad last year too?
The high school roof has
So
been
why
bad for
did
a
we
few
only
years.
fix 1/3 of it and not the whole thing where the kids are standing?
It's
Well,
really-
it's a misunderstanding
really
of
expensive.
how this works. There are 3 separate buildings at the
Educate.
high school. If you look at it, go to Google Maps and take a look at it. The A wing had leaks. Every flat roof, from the day you put on, is now, it's not if, it's when it will leak. We repair our roof every year, all of the roofs, particularly on the high school, because it's a flat roof. It's not a peak roof like the elementary school. We repair it every year. There comes a point where it is more cost effective to replace it. The last wing is, while there may be need for some spot repair, we are at the edge of the life of that roof, but it is in okay shape. So that gets back to the priorities of things, working within the monies that you have, The A wing, because of however it was put on or whatever it was in the worst shape, and now we're moving further on. So we address it both as repair and replacement.
And the bleachers were more of a priority than the roof?
The bleachers are not ADA compliant.
Okay.
So yes, they were.
So it was a totally different...
It's part of the bond overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other, yes ma'am?
First, I just want to thank you for listening to our concern for our last meeting in April. Second, says two suggestions. The mailing, I don't know if it's already done, but that's one slide that shows who voted. I know it was brought up at the last meeting to say maybe you could make a handout, but you could add that to the mailing.
It gets a
So
little
powerful.
dicey, if you want my real opinion.
Yeah.
It gets a little dicey. We don't put out there, you know, you people are recalcitrant, we're not voting. It sounds negative.
I think some people think other people are voting for them. Do you know what I
Always.
mean? And this
Yes.
is not like it's
Yes.
not so, this
I
shows
have
how
people
concerned
come up to
about
me
it.
and say, oh, I like that page, so I like it. I said, you have to come and vote.
Right.
You have to come out, put your Crocs on, pick it on, David from earlier, and come out and vote.
Right.
Yeah.
And does the teacher union call and recommend
I don't know
mind
what
to vote? You know, I'm not aware
We
of it.
don't get involved in what they do.
I just don't normally, as like a NICE member, I would get a phone call, and I don't think we have. So I think that's a great way.
I mean, we
That's
could
teachers
inquire,
vote.
but we don't get involved in
I
what they
understand
choose
that,
to
but I
do.
know.
We do a robocall, people get annoyed about that. People get annoyed, why are we calling them? Someday, I swear to God, I'm gonna call you all at 3 o'clock. Just say, good morning, Mount Sinai, I'm up. I don't think I'll be lasting much longer after that, but just for the sake.
Just to give you an example, when I make my calls, and I called for SEPTO for last Friday's event, which was very successful, at the basketball game, 600 people, I got negative responses.
We will call.
I won't even
we'll
tell you
do
what
one-
they say, but
Yes,
I
we'll
can
do
never
one.
make a popular.
This week, we'll do one Sunday. We'll be a little bit pesky. We'll craft it in such a way that, I like to be able to speak positively, not negatively. These people don't vote. Let's come out and vote. We have started this process back when board members spoke, if you recall, at all of the back-to-school nights. I always spoke at the elementary school, and I brought up how the elementary, if you break that down, forget about the age, you broke it down by parents, by school, the elementary school is the worst, by far. The high school is the best. Middle school is a crapshoot. It really is. And you would think that you're coming into the district, the kids are first in school, and you want to be involved. You've got, 10 years going ahead of you. You want to make sure all this is working. And we have more parents come out in the high school. And if you break it down, we actually can break it down to, we have more parents with seniors voting. We don't know how they vote, we just know if you vote. Than almost all of the others. Think about that. Their kids are going. It's great. Let's get them out there.
In the elementary school, with the elementary school, that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am one of those people.
Thank you for your confession, you are healed. I absolve you of your sins.
This is my fault.
This is the first step.
And this is one of, I think, the third meeting I'm attending.
Well,
And some years I vote, some years I don't. I think in the elementary school, most people are probably thinking the old parents know what to do, they'll take care of this. Because it wasn't even on
Yeah.
my mind. I would look every year to make sure it passed, but it wasn't really, I wasn't registering that I really needed to be in there to vote as well. And I'm sure that's how they're thinking.
I think it is.
Now I
think you
have
a
one
fair point.
graduating, I have one in middle school and one in elementary school, and I feel like now I get it.
Right.
Because I've been here long enough, and I will participate, and I will.
We may come
I
back
will
to,
scream all over Facebook.
yeah, we will
If
come
we
back
need
to
people to come out and
the
vote
back-to-school
because of the
nights
shape.
again, maybe. We didn't do it this year because frankly, we're in the way of you getting to your classroom. I mean, let's be realistic. We do set up a table We talk to a lot of parents, particularly in the elementary school. We have a lot of conversations. We man that. You come one night, we're there every night for every back-to-school night. At least one, if not 4 or 5
Yes.
of the board members. And we talk to everybody.
Well,
And-
maybe somebody has to go in that's not on the board, because I think that people feel intimidated that way also. Maybe you just have some parents that can just go in and say, you know what, we're a voice too, we need to get in, this is the future for our kids. We need to make sure that things are being taken care of, so that when they are going through middle school and high school, we've already taken care
Maybe
of
we'll
it.
follow up with you.
A
A great example of you've learned
Yeah,
and see what the impact is, and you want to be a part of this. You've learned coming to the meeting. Some of you had not been here before. Some of you are regulars, we appreciate it. But even the understanding, I read through all of your emails 4 times and understand what some of the issues were. And as I read through them, it was abundantly clear that we don't, as a board, make a decision, certainly January through March. We're listening, we're learning, we're getting information and deliberating, but we're not making any decision. And in April, particularly this year, because of April 1st was when all the retirement plans had to be finalized. So we had our meeting in 2 weeks. It would be improper for the principals to have now pulled together a massive document into a meaningful strategic plan. We only, just before the meeting, get the information from the state, what our aid is. It's kind of a convoluted process. Tonight you'll see, we'll be voting on, we have to take a loan because we don't get our tax money until October, so we have to take out a loan. It's like we have to take out a payday loan to pay interest on our money. So, these are things that people need to understand, that we listen and we don't make decisions until we feel we've gotten as much information, and we pepper poor Gordon with all kinds of questions, and we get more reading material. And it helps us understand where we have to go. This strategic planning that's going on now is a sea change in this district. It's how a successful enterprise is run. This is how I ran a corporate law department. This is how I run a large law firm. If I had to work every day and say, well, this is what I'm going to pay for today, how long would you last? Let's get 1 or 2 more questions, then we got to continue on. Go ahead.
So you were talking, and I know the board's very proud of their secure border and all the security you brought into the district. What times are the borders secure?
Well, you have, our problem in this district is the varying starting times on one campus. So what we do is the guard takes, when they're all the buses, the last elementary buses go, the guard's out there at 9:30.
So we have a false sense of security because
I don't
when-
call it that.
I do, because I dropped
You're
my
different.
daughter off at morning care for the first time last week. At 7 o'clock, I walked right into the elementary school. There was nobody at the guard booth, and I had to leave her. She
Morning
wasn't
care
secure.
and after-school care is not part of the district. It's
So
a
we're
separate,
only worried during school hours.
it's a
the
separate,
district is secure.
you could speak with the vendor and see if they will
What's
pay
your
for a
problem?
security guard.
I just, well, so then it's a false sense of security.
That's your
Because
opinion.
our borders are not secure. The gate on the North Country Road, that's open a lot. The delivery gate, the gate at the light, it's not secure. I could take
The
pictures and
delivery
send
gate
it.
is open, the gate that's inside.
There's a gate inside
That
that
is
though.
locked. You
I
can't
live on
proceed
North
up the
Country Road. I
driveway.
pass at least 4 times a day, and I myself make sure that that's locked.
There's an
I tell them
interior
it's
gate
locked.
that's
Yeah,
separate.
I don't understand
If you
then
will
why
see.
by 1:30 or before 1:30, the other gate's open.
High school starts dismissing at that time.
We have to get the buses out and we have to have a safe.
Just
way to
imagine
get
if I
children
shut
out.
that gate, where do the
It's an
dismissals go?
inconvenience. Who cares?
The high school immediately followed by the middle school, then followed by the elementary school. How do the buses get in? What happens? Look, I'd love to have it locked all the time. 7 o'clock, I can't. Now with everything happening, a lot of times you would see that North Country Road gate open. We had a lot of construction going on, including fixing the sign, drop-offs of equipment, and I'll grant that, but we're on it. I had a
Well, we also
person
have-
remind me about the Bedoni gate.
We also have guards who are not committed to the There is also roving guards that you may meet, Timothy. He is out there with the buses when the gates are open. So we have guards on the fields. We have guard who, in the nice weather, will be out when the students are out on behind the elementary school and middle school for recess. So we feel that we've done a pretty good job. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to contribute to the earlier discussion. I went to 3 music concerts in a row between the middle school and the 2 elementary. Yes, I did go to both. And never was there any mention of the budget vote, and that would have been such a great time for whoever, was speaking before the event to say, please come out and vote for these wonderful programs like music. And, it would have been a good time for them to do that. So in the
We've
future,
done that in the past, and I agree with you. We'll ask you to...
I almost wanted to stand up and just say,
As long as you're not yell fire, you can...
crazy.
We're going to move up to the top.
Well, I just want to make a suggestion.
Yes.
I just recently, I always email all of my friends who live in Mount Sinai about the vote and the budget. And I just recently sent mine out. I took one of those fancy stationeries so that maybe they would read it. And I've gotten some comments back. So if you, just individually, take your email list for Mount Sinai and send out a reminder. I mean, that's better than nothing. And, and maybe send them another one the day before. But, we all have to do what we can do to get them to come.
Steve, would you start us off with the approval of the minutes?
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the minutes of the April 17, 2019 meeting as submitted.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any comments? All in favor? Skipping personnel, number 6, resignation, reinstatement, elimination of position. Lynn, would you mind?
Sure. Now I do. Number 1, resignation, clerk stipend. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Judith Barber, part-time clerk, effective August 1st, 2019.
Thank you, Steve. Any comments? All in favor?
Want me to know?
Do number 2.
School District A, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Judith Barber, part-time, it was typist, I'm sorry. I'm having one of those days. School District A, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby reinstates Barbara Wright, School District A, to a 2.5-hour position effective May 20th, 2019.
May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor?
I can screw up a minute.
Yeah, if you could
Sure,
scroll
why not?
down.
Okay. Elimination of a full-time position. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby moves that one full-time position in the tenured area of music will be eliminated July 1st, 2019. And it is further resolved that the full-time employment of Dustin Bartley be accessed effectively July 1st, 2019.
May I have a second? Second. Any comments? All in favor? Move on to B. Ed?
Appointments, instructional science teacher Lindsay Kulik. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following probationary appointment for Lindsay Kulik, appointment date of August 28, 2019 to expire August 27th of 2023 in the area of science at step 0E MA with an initial certification.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any comments? You can open it.
Lindsay's here tonight with her parents, right over there. Gary's been an outstanding teacher here. The mom, she comes from a great pedigree, 2 highly effective teachers, produced another highly effective teacher. We convinced her to leave her present district to join us here. She did her student teaching here in a leave replacement, improved how great she was here. We're happy she found a nice home in William Floyd, but she proved very effective there. I don't want to see her go. She fits our strategic plan, both science teachers do. She's certed in bio. She plans to finish her cert in chemistry, but she also has her TESOL cert, so working with ELL learners. Plus she also has an extension to teach general science in the middle school if we need her there. So you can see we're trying to hire multi-purpose people who can not just work in one location with one cert. And she fits that well and will serve our district and well in the next few years. So thank you, Lindsay, for joining us.
All in favor? Let's have a round of applause. Welcome home. I felt like I was at Disney briefly. I don't know what this is. Carrie, could you do number 2, science teacher?
Science teacher, Allison Elka. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following probationary appointment for Allison Elka on August 28th, 2019, which expires on August 27th, 2023, in science on step D, MA plus 30, and her certification status as professional.
Second. Thank you. Any comments? Please do. Oh, that's all right.
Before he cuts me off, I'll speak quickly about this young lady. She's in Boston right now. She has 6 years teaching experience. She's taught in a gifted and talented high school. She's an adjunct professor at colleges. She has her bio cert and almost thoroughly completing her earth science cert. So again, a valuable person, fitting the district's strategic plan. We have 2 great new additions to our science department.
Okay, good job. All in favor? And Anne Marie, number 3.
Substitute teacher, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointment. Rhonda McHugh, appointment date May 13th, 2019, as a substitute teacher, compensation $111 a day.
May I have a second? Thank you, Lynn. Any comments? All in favor? C. Pete? 19-20 coaches?
C, 2019-2020 coaches, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Board of Education hereby approves the following appointments as listed.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor?
Madam Secretary, please bid on my extension. I am on this.
And we skip all the way to action items. Those of you still following the Roman system, it's Roman numeral 7. Educational, back to Steve.
Committee on Special Education. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education has no objections to the following special education recommendations and approves the authorization for the funds to implement the special education programs and services consistent with such as listed.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor? I'll read action items of business. This is all this is. Tax anticipation notes. This is my favorite one all the time. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following motion. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Mount Sinai Union Free School District, Suffolk County, New York, as follows. Section 1. Subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize issuance of and to sell not exceeding $12 billion in tax anticipation notes, the Mount Sinai Union Free School District, Suffolk County, New York, including renewals thereof, in anticipation of collection of taxes levied or to be levied for the fiscal year of said school district commencing July 1st, 2019, is hereby delegated to the President of the Board of Education of said school district, the Chief Fiscal Officer. Such notes shall be such terms, forms, and contents, and shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by the said President of the Board of Education, consistent with the provisions of local finance law, section 2. The resolution shall take effect immediately. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
The comment, these are the tax anticipation notes. We have to take a loan to get our tax money back and pay interest. What's wrong with that? All in favor? B,
Shall I do that?
you do that, election and assistant clerks.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following persons to act as inspectors of election and assistance. Clerks of the budget vote, board election to be held on Tuesday, May 21st, 2019, at the rate of $13 per hour as listed below.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Ed C.
Internal Claims Auditor Report. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the Internal Claims Auditor Report dated February 2019.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor? CSEA holidays. Karen?
CSEA holidays. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following CSEA holidays for the 2019-20 school year as listed.
May I have a second? Thank you, Pete. Any comments? All in favor? Anne Marie, obsolete equipment.
Obsolete equipment. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby declares the following items as obsolete and further authorizes disposal as listed.
May I have a second? Thanks, Steve. Any comments? All in favor? Pete, bid awards?
F, bid awards. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following bid awards to the lowest responsible bidders for the 2019-20 school year as listed.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Bid awards, Ed Daly. Not to be confused with Ed Law. Sorry.
Not to be confused with education law.
Education. Wow.
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent and Educational Data Services Incorporated, in conjunction with Island Cooperative Bid, it is recommended that a unit price award be made to the following lowest responsible bidders for the 1920 school year as listed.
Second?
Second. Just a comment, these are, we get this and bid through BOCES. These are the vendors that through BOCES, so we get the benefit of volume purchases through BOCES as opposed to reaching out directly for such supplies, and it realizes a significant savings. All in favor? Any other questions? Hi.
At a previous Board of Ed meeting, you said that when positions were being considered to be accessed, that letters were sent out to staff informing them of that. How many letters were sent out this year?
We can't answer.
You can't answer that, okay.
Yes, sir.
At the last meeting, I asked about the status of the elementary school roof and the current leaks and what was being done about them. What's the update?
I don't have an update. They call the company, they fix them as they have them. I'll have to see where it is on our strategic plan. But we also have some leaks in district office.
It's, that roof may still be under warranty. from my time when we first did it. And we're gonna have to check that out in terms of the warrant.
Yeah, I know there was at least one staff injury as a result of the leaks, and I wouldn't want any other staff or students to be injured from slipping on the wetness.
Nor would we.
Was that?
Nor would we.
Okay.
Any other questions tonight? Thank you all for coming. What is the mantra as we leave?
Motion to adjourn.
Not yet, not yet. Vote. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Thank you all.
Take care.